Hey everybody, it's Becca here with the Gauge. I have another awesome episode. I have Stephanie and James Underwood from Over and Underwood Inspections out of Lowell, Michigan. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. So excited to have you guys. A little background how I met James is I did a tag along a couple months ago where I followed him along on one of his inspections. And just, you're such a knowledgeable guy. I thought you'd be a great person to have on the Gauge. And then when you told me about your lovely wife who helped you out, I thought it would be an awesome perspective to have you both on the Gauge. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, of course. So let's go ahead and dig into it. Why don't you kick us off with telling us a little bit about yourself, your business, and how you got into the home inspection industry?
Sure. I'm a home inspector. I've been doing this since, I guess, about 12 years now professionally. I've been in business for longer than that, obviously, apprenticeships. And getting started in this business is just kind of one of those things you got to keep your eyes open for opportunity. And the right opportunity came out for me to start an apprenticeship. And growing up, I've always had my feet wet with real estate from my parents' business. So, it was
Okay.
always a process of going around checking things out from a young age. And when I got the opportunity to become a home inspector, it was a great experience. It's something that I really enjoy, and I've been doing it since. I did an apprenticeship for a short period of time, or not short period, but quite a long time, about 8 years with a larger company, and I learned a lot of valuable information. And I decided to take that with my wife here and start our own company. And so far, it's been 5 years in, and we're doing wonderful.
That's so awesome. So you
Thank
said
you.
that your parents were realtors?
No, though they owned real estate, so rental
Okay.
property, things like that. So it's always trying to buy something new, going to check it out, and then of course I wasn't involved in the buying process, but I was involved in the cleaning up, the fixing, the
Yeah.
seeing what's wrong with it, evaluation, and that was since I was a little one, and so it's just something kind of stuck with me, and from then on, it just kind of fell right into place. And if you know, you know, and I do know.
Yeah, what a cool angle to get into the industry. So what was it that connected the dots for you where you were like, "Oh, I could be a home inspector. I like doing this sort of stuff," instead of going down like the construction or handyman route? What was it about home inspecting that you were like, "This seems like a good career for me to tap into?"
Well, I've always been in the service industry, just in a
Mhm.
different field. So, communication, speaking with clients, discussing good or bad things were always part of my job. Basically, I just did a transfer over into a different industry. So, all those skills that I've learned for years, I took with me. Obviously, coming into the home inspection side, whole another set of experience and learning. But those were things that really carried over and made me successful in my business. I was in the service industry for a while. I had a neighbor gave me the opportunity that owned a business, and I
Mhm.
went to work with him for an apprenticeship just to check it out and see if I was enjoying it. And sure enough, it just stuck with me and took off. And from then on, I've never looked back and just driving forward and building the business.
That's awesome. So your neighbor was a home inspector and he let you apprentice with him. That's
That's
very,
correct.
yeah. What are the chances of that? It's like the universe aligned everything for you to become a home inspector.
That's what I think. It's kind of like the right place, the right time, the right
Yeah.
skills. Everything just fell right in place. So definitely blessed for that.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And you get to work with your wife. That's cool.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Um,
She does great work with us and keeps me in line.
yeah, keeps things organized, I'm sure.
Yes.
So you guys are HomeGauge users, which is really cool. And I was really happy to be able to follow along and see how you use HomeGauge when you're doing your inspections. And maybe this is a question for you, Stephanie, or James, whoever wants to answer. But is there a feature within HomeGauge that you really like and helps you stay organized, especially when scheduling your appointments or working with each other as a team on things, getting the appointment scheduled, the report sent and available to your customers? Do you have any features that stick out to you that have helped you a lot?
I'll let you answer. So we actually also have a office manager, Sherry, who
Oh,
does
okay,
the
cool.
scheduling and probably is in HomeGauge more than
Yeah.
I am. So I can let James answer that.
Well, home gauge and being in the industry for the years that I've been in, I've seen different types of reporting systems,
Mhm.
across the board, and I've seen so many different types of reports. And the only one that I really am stuck on and have been and refuse to use anyone else is prior, because this is the best reporting software that I have, or
Yeah,
that's out there, in my opinion. A couple of the things that work out great with our setup is that you have the calendar where you can book everything, send it out to your clients, get confirmation emails, agreements, everything's all done. So when I show up to the office or to the job, there's no paperwork. I'm just ready to go.
yeah,
There's features with the dashboard where you can get in, and even if you don't have your computer, you can go to your phone and do, and if you're out and say, oh no, someone needs a copy of this, so well, I can
yeah,
get it out to you right now. Business reports that you can use to isolate zip codes of your highest sales, and then
yeah.
also the different software applications, whether if you're on a smartphone, a tablet, or computer, it's all accessible that way.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Now, just going on the tag along with you, I know you have your tools that you like to use during your inspections. Do you have any innovative tools that have helped you level up your inspections, or maybe you've seen an uptick in your business because you offer a certain inspection feature that involves a certain tool that you could recommend to home inspectors that are in the industry?
My recommendation is get the proper equipment the first time.
Mhm.
Number one, the quality equipment's going to make a big deal. I know everybody's starting off, or you're starting off building. Things are expensive. However, the quality between a cheap version and a good one can be very different.
Yeah.
Um, Things that do level the playing field are moisture probes, infrared cameras. Those are something that relatively not new, but in the industry, say 10 years or so, maybe a little longer, and the quality have gotten so much better. So before it's like,
Mhm.
I can't see behind walls. Now I can actually take a camera and tell you, oh, you have insulation missing, or I can see moisture, or you've got air loss here. There's a lot of features that can be used with that. Drones, different scopes. There's all different types of modern electronics that really help you do the job. Uh, HomeGauge.
Yeah.
But I think the best tool that you have when you're doing an inspection is obviously the ability to recognize something that you see and communicate it the best way.
Yeah, and have an eye for it. And I've heard, just talking with other inspectors, making sure you don't rush, because your eye catches the things that, you see it first. Like, you might see some water damage and see a faint outline, and then it makes you want to get out your thermal camera to see if there's any issues with installation or previous water damage that you can spot, or the probe that you were talking about that I actually got to see you use. Um, that was pretty cool. I do have still from the tag along your little card that I kept, because I
Wonderful.
think it's so awesome. And actually, how I thought of that question is because you probably can't see it here, but I love how you list your home inspection and all the services that you offer. And then you also have your other services that you offer, and then your air quality inspection offerings. So that's, I think, a great way to lay out for people that maybe are uneducated with home inspections, the different services that home inspectors generally tend to offer. Whose idea was this to do this? Stephanie.
That one right there.
That's awesome. Yeah, these are great. And you just kind of leave them wherever, coffee shops, and people can pick them up. Yeah, that's a great little thing. I held on to that because I'm like, this
Thank
is
you.
this is awesome.
A little
Uh-huh.
literature to leave out, and that's all part of the process. Getting your name out, understanding what services you offer, explain the different levels of inspections and things that can be inspected. And some
Yeah.
people just don't know, because it's, to me and you, we're in the industry, but for first time home buyers
Oh, for
getting
sure.
into it, some of them you do research, but a lot of people just don't know the tools and services that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the sense of when someone hires you and maybe they're a little uneducated with what services that you offer, knowing out flat right that you offer these services, if the realtor's like, hey, I think you should really get an air quality test and see about mold in the basement, they can see, oh, well, the home inspector I hired already does that. So I think that's a great way to make sure someone stays with you to get all the services that they need and all the services that you offer with one person. It helps make things simple, which I feel like everybody just wants simplicity,
Well,
especially
that's
when
true.
you're
I
buying
mean,
a house.
you got scheduling with buyers and sellers, and the more people involved, the more inconveniences. So if you got a one-stop shop where you're going to get your needs met, that's the best way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I agree. So switching gears a little bit, speaking of being a home inspector for so long, have you ever ran into a challenging scenario that you've encountered, and just a little feedback to other inspectors that maybe have a similar situation, maybe with a difficult customer or with a realtor that's in the inspection process? Just sharing a little feedback on your experiences through the years and how you navigated through those.
Challenging to me, the challenging part of home inspections is having to educate buyers,
Mhm.
educate sellers, and then the whole process of setting the inspection up. Primarily because more and more people are working from home. More people like to be in their house. I've got to schedule and come in with clients.
Mhm.
Some people are, clients are, they don't want the sellers there. Sellers shouldn't be there. I've seen sellers get in fights before. I've seen sellers
Oh,
and
wow.
buyers put out too much information and the buyer walks away because they've learned something from the seller at that
Yeah,
time. I think
like
the
he
biggest
said,
thing,
she said stuff.
yeah, that it's like, oh, well, the seller says when it rains, this, but it wasn't on disclosure. And, things like that can be a little bit iffy when you're trying to
Mhm.
balance the whole relationship to stay, neutral in the case. But with that being said, the communication and patience, I think, is going to be the biggest thing to be able to overcome. And if you feel yourself getting frustrated because of whatever situation that you're in with the buyers or sellers or in the home, in the very beginning, I would let it affect me. I
Mhm.
would let it frustrate me, and that was never good because you're putting off that tone, that
Mhm.
of the base. So what I've got to is it's almost become in these situations where you have to think and not worry about yourself, but you have to diffuse the situation, step back for a minute and say, what can we do to make this work?
Yeah.
Instead of automatic response of like, oh, well, I can't do this, or
Yeah.
no is not an answer that you want to give. You want to figure out, address the problem, say, hi, how can we get this done and
Yeah.
move on? It'll be done shortly. And that is a challenging aspect of home inspections. When it comes down to actually doing the homes, I can talk for days
Mhm.
about some of the things of trying to get on roofs or get in these little areas or you can't see, or
Mhm.
things that maybe you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And that could be challenging. And that's where we all have phones, smartphones. If I'm on a job and I've never seen something before, I will go and research it and figure it out
Yeah.
and then do my homework.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and I really agree, especially because sometimes home inspections can be a higher stress level for the buyer, maybe even the realtor. And you, as the person that's seeking out any unsatisfactory items in a home, can really set the tone for the energy in the room. And I think having that confidence and being able to say, hey, this is the information I have. If something is triggering the customer or the realtor in a way, becoming confident in your answer of, I understand this. How can we fix this? How can we make this right? And really helping set the tone. And that kind of leans into my next question of, you know, I'm not exactly sure because I'm not a home inspector or a realtor. And I've worked for HomeGauge for, 5, 6 years now. So I know a lot about the industry, but there is a certain line that I feel like realtors and home inspectors have to walk with, um, the transparency and what they can say when it comes to personal opinions. How do you keep that transparency without leaving your opinion in the mix? Because I feel like legally you can't really, you can't tell someone, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. Do you have any tools or comments in HomeGauge that you like to use as a disclaimer, or tell me a little bit about that perspective?
You're absolutely right. I'm trained through InterNACHI, so we do have guidelines of what we follow as a home inspector that we bring into our fields every day, which is, unbelievable that, that uh, all that information is there to help us guide you. Before I even start an inspection, we have an office manager send out agreements to be signed and approval of the cost of the services to be listed. It
Mhm.
gives you a list of the times that are available, what we're looking at, meaning the main focus of any home inspection are going to be the big five. That's going to be the roof, the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing, and the HVAC. And I
Mhm.
say this speech every day when I get to a client that those are the items that I'm working on. I'm not here to look for, scratches in the paint or minor
Yeah.
cosmetic items. I'm looking for the dollar items. And then also I include uh, improvements for standard maintenance or
Mhm.
follow-ups that can be done. And then also in HomeGauge, there's an overview in there of that part. So you can actually list out, and it does list out what we're required to inspect, what we do not inspect.
Mhm.
So that is part of that report. So if your client reads that, they'll understand where we're coming from. But I
Yeah.
believe that information that transfers over to them was provided to them before the inspection. I reiterated at the time of the inspection to them,
Mhm.
and then we talk about it during the inspection. So everybody is on the same page, and then we have the backup with HomeGauge if memory's loss is there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the agreement is really key. And that's, a feature that I think is really handy to have in HomeGauge is they don't get any information from you until they sign that agreement. So you are protected in that sense. And then of course, being insured yourself as a home inspector, I think is really important. So,
Well, you do have
um,
to watch everything that you say, because just as you were talking about opinions, and I'm not here to say my opinion or would you buy this house, or those are
yeah.
questions that I'm not there to answer. I'm
Have
there to
you
give you
had
the
Have you had a situation where someone asked you that, and how did you handle that or navigate that?
uh I dance around the question just to not to to explain to them that I'm not there to give you my personal opinion on it.
Yeah.
I'm there to provide a situation and the condition of the home as it is today. And the reason way I could explain that is I could say, okay, well, with this house or any other house, explain looking at the client, I can say, well, you might have a roofing company, and I can mark out that this house needs a roof, and to another client that might be something that they can't handle. You as a roofer, you can come in and take care of the roof, and it's not a
Yeah.
big deal to you. So I
Yeah.
have to explain one thing to one person completely different to another. I've had 20-minute conversations about why you should get gutters and direct water away from the home,
Mhm.
versus, the importance of replacing filters to, severity of mold or foundation issues, so it goes one way or the other.
Yeah. Absolutely. For sure. And I feel like me personally, if I'm dealing with someone that's really laid back and the conversation's flowing, I feel like you really have to be on your game to just realize what you're saying and making sure you're not saying too much and just providing the hard facts of what you have inspected in the property that you're inspecting. So kudos to you.
Well, you've got to be very careful with every word you say.
Yeah,
You can explain defect five different ways, and it's going to be taken from five different people. And
absolutely.
if you say something that may be not the right verbiage, and then your client goes back to the agent and said, "Well, your inspector said this." And
Yeah.
like, back up a minute. Those words don't come. That's what your client took from the situation.
Mhm.
But as always, with giving that information communication, even in the reporting system, we have to follow lines. And that's why everything's documented with photos in there. And then if I ever have to talk and explain an inspection to someone else, like maybe another client or something there, I really can't do that because I don't have a contract with them.
Yeah.
And then I open up the door for liability for myself. So there's a lot of ins and outs of the inspection company that you really have to learn that you're not going to be taught anywhere unless you're out there in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last guest, Natalie, she really stressed the importance of an apprenticeship or working with someone else who's in the thick of the business already, that you can kind of learn and see these in and outs that you don't get from when you're taking your exam and you're testing and studying for your testing. So
Hmm.
that's awesome that you shared that as well. I did want to switch gears a little bit because I was doing a little research just on you guys, checking out your social media and stuff. And you guys have some really awesome 5-star Google reviews, which I know is sometimes a challenge for inspectors to get, but I think that is a huge advantage for inspectors to set up, is having a Google business profile. Do you have a method that you use and like to get reviews? Because you guys have some awesome reviews. I don't know if you've been in there and checked it out yet recently, but I was impressed and I thought it would be a cool topic to touch on and talk about for other inspectors that may be tuning in.
Yeah, we appreciate all our feedback and obviously 5-star reviews that we get from Google. Kudos goes to James on receiving those. We really do it organically,
Mhm.
after someone books an inspection and James completes it through the email process, asking, we appreciate, for them to leave a Google review with the link. So we don't do a huge push on it. So it's nice to see those come through because as a small business, that's always a good reference for others when they're researching your company.
Yeah,
But really, it goes back to the service and the work that James does when he's on inspection and the attention and the communication he gives to the clients when they're going through their home.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure that you are referring to the time release messaging. You have that set up through HomeGauge where it sends the email a couple days after the inspection saying, "Hey, what'd you think? Leave us a
Yeah.
review if you have a chance." That's a really nice way to get reviews without having to remember every time to send out an email, just having it set up automatically. But yeah, kudos to you, James. Good
Well,
job.
thank you. I can tell you, and just like Stephanie said, the ability to have that organic response, it's nothing that, it's pushed down their throat or, hey,
Mhm.
do this and send you a $25 gift card or any of that.
Yeah,
Because, at that point to me, it's not what the purpose is at that point. I wish I had more, but they'll come.
yeah.
And, the way I achieve that service is that when I'm on a job and I'm inspecting it for a client, I'm looking at it as if my family's going to be in that house.
Mhm.
So safety is not always number one. While I'm on the inspection, I'm just not talking about the house. And this is a key part for other inspectors. Get to know your client a little bit. Find out what they like to do. How many kids do they have? Do they travel a lot? Do they stay at home?
Mhm.
All these little things. And then you'll be surprised when people start talking and then they start telling you all the information, and it's kind of a little session of learning each other. And with that, in a short period of time, a couple hours, you get to know somebody pretty well when you're walking around talking, and so that also influences that response.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of navigates towards your social media in a way of trying to personalize your brand, not only online, but personalize your experience with the customer in person and letting them know that you're not just the hired inspector to get in, get out. You really care about their investment and making sure they're educated with everything that they have and what they're paying for, because they are paying for your service. So um, that's a great intertwine between personalizing or finding a personable voice within your social media and within your services that you're providing, for sure. And going into that, I wanted to talk to you, maybe Stephanie, a little bit about social media. Are you the one that solely posts on there pretty much and responds to people engaging?
Yeah, so I'm the one behind the scenes doing the social media marketing. So when we first started the business, I was like, well, I can do this. I can learn about this. I like
Yeah.
social media personally. So,
Yeah.
and I like to do creative things. So I've really learned organically, self-taught. I use Canva as probably my biggest platform as far as creating content that I
Same.
use.
But I was curious, what platforms have you found most successful for connecting with clients and customers? Because I know personally doing social media for HomeGauge, sometimes the engagement is a little, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not great. Sometimes you get 50 likes, sometimes you get 2 likes, and it's one of your employees. So do you have any platforms that you guys are on that you've seen more engagement than others? Or even like with emails that you send out, what is that response like?
So currently we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hmm.
I would like to say that with Instagram, we seem to see more engagement regarding when we're posting the reels and the stories. Definitely higher engagement there.
Hmm.
Interestingly, Facebook seems to have higher engagement on different sorts of posts. So
Yeah.
it's learning the different platform algorithms and adjusting for those. Instagram seems to be very popular. We get more engagement, more views when we're doing the behind the scenes videos and just really more of the authentic when James is sending me videos for like showing things that are on inspection. That
Yeah.
really seems to be what engages the audience.
Yeah, that was my next question for you. Is there a certain type of content that you've seen higher engagement? And I personally, just searching the, discovery page, it seems that a lot of the higher engagement in the home inspection industry seems to be that background knowledge, that inside look. And I think that that can branch out to not only home inspectors that follow you, but home buyers that are trying to educate themselves with a house and the structure of a house, and maybe seeing something about, hey, look at this thing I found on this inspection, this roof shingle is XYZ. A home buyer could see that and be like, oh my gosh, I need to check out my roof before I buy this house, or like understand what my inspector's saying when he says that this shingle nail is not through all the way and it can cause this. And so I can agree with you there that I've seen a lot of higher engagement when it comes to the behind the scenes and educational pieces of what you find on a inspection. So you guys should get on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
I recently got HomeGauge onto YouTube Shorts, and a lot of times I can reuse the reels that I create in Instagram and put it on YouTube Shorts. And the reason I suggest the YouTube Shorts is because I've seen a lot higher engagement on the videos, same video that I'm posting on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts. And I read, the reason I wanted to get on YouTube is because I read a prediction for 2024 that YouTube Shorts were the new thing, and that's where the engagement was going to be at. And so far, I have seen a lot of engagement, significantly higher on YouTube Shorts than on Instagram, and it's the same video. So it might be worth just getting your name out there on that platform and recycling those posts. It could help out a lot too, just getting people familiar with who you guys are, and especially people in your area using the hashtags to let them know, hey, we're in this area that we can service you.
Absolutely. And that's definitely a goal for the next year is to building out the YouTube page for the company. There's
Mhm.
so many great AI tools now that you can take longer videos and cut them down for, different platforms like Instagram, TikTok,
Oh yeah.
Facebook. And definitely want to keep because current homeowners are also a target because we have the a la carte services that they may need. You may not be buying a new home, but you may be having an issue that actually, a home inspector like James can come and help um, find the issue and diagnose it, like the air quality testing. So
Mhm.
the educational pieces that we do also can translate to current homeowners, not just those that are looking to buy a home.
For sure. Absolutely. And I think that's where the newsletters, like sending out email newsletters, come in handy, because you might not see an immediate engagement with those. But like Dan was saying, he works in our web team and also does social media stuff for HomeGauge. He recently did a video and he expressed that while you might not see engagement from your email marketing, you're placing yourself in the front of people's minds. So when they do have an issue down the road, they're like, oh, wait, this inspector that I used 5 years ago, I have their contact information already in my email. You're in the front cortex of their mind when they do need a service as well. Do you have any tips, Stephanie, for home inspectors that are starting in social media, just with maybe scheduling, how you plan your posts, anything that's worked well for you that might be helpful for someone that's just getting started and inspired by wanting to do social media, but they don't really know where to start, or they maybe don't have a lovely partner that can help them out, and it's just someone that doesn't know a lot about social media. Any tips that you have for those people?
Sure. There's first so many great free resources out there on the internet. So definitely dive into some of those. But first, define your brand. So having that brand clarity, deciding the message that you want to push forward, make sure that you are providing authentic, valuable content that can be educational. So it's not just posting your testimonials from clients, which are important as well, but having a mixture of things that are going to provide value to your audience, and also define your audience. Who are you trying to attract to your business, to your page? Consistency is important. So finding those tools that are going to help you do your content scheduling. There's so many different ones out there. So it's finding the right mix. I like Canva because it has so many things built into that tool. So you can do content scheduling. It'll push it out for you. You just schedule it. Scheduling batch content. So doing, I still have a full-time job, so I try to be as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
Definitely working on being more consistent, but that will come with time. So staying up to date on the different changes with the platforms and being flexible. Things are going to change. So monitor your engagement. See, okay, this post maybe didn't have as high engagement as I would have liked. So trying different things.
Yeah.
Also, collaborating. Like we're collaborating with you today. So who do
Yeah.
you work with, and how can you make that work and help also get more viewership?
For sure. And I can't stress this enough. And I'm glad that you mentioned this, just with scheduling posts. I really think that a huge key factor in having a successful social media is being consistent, and helping people stay consistent. For me, and the education that I have with social media and the years of experience that I have, scheduling is such a game changer, because you can set aside maybe 1 hour once a week, even depending on what your load is that you're trying to push out a week, your content load. Just spending 1 hour a week scheduling posts for the week, because then you don't have to worry about it all week. You have these posts scheduled, you can stay consistent and show up for people that are online. So I'm glad that you touched on that, because it just supports me and what I've been saying for years now. So you heard it, people. Schedule your posts. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Stephanie. I really appreciate that perspective, because I do think a lot of inspectors maybe haven't tapped into utilizing social media, or maybe they've started a platform like Instagram or Facebook, but they're not really active on it. So I will try to link, if I can, Canva below in the comments, just so people can check out Canva, because even I'm sure that you pay for it to have that scheduling feature, but even if you don't pay for it, there's still a lot of free resources on Canva that allow you to create eye-catching posts or whatever you're looking for, editing short little videos or reels of behind the scenes stuff, adding text to your videos, whatever you need to do. Canva is a great resource. So that's the platform that I probably use most frequently as well. So I can vouch for its thoroughness with helping out
Yeah.
in social media. So I have just a couple more questions that I wanted to ask. And James, maybe this one can be for you. What is
Sure.
the game-changing advice that you received at the start of your journey from maybe your mentor or someone through Internachi? Did you have a piece of advice that you would like to share for inspectors that you didn't learn in your exam period?
Absolutely. Part of being a home inspector requires a lot of different aspects of life, from communication, physical, mental, you name it, as we go through. And all of those things, like what Stephanie does, I have no understanding. Be honest with you, I just got Facebook a year ago. So that is one of my major weaknesses with social media. So, and dealing with this, I have a coach to help me and help me build the business and get me in line as far as things I need to do, steps, motivational, you name it. And the most important thing that I think I've learned from this point is to source out your weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that I am very strong and I know home inspections, I know houses, and I know how to communicate with people. However, I don't know how to communicate with the computer.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
that's
you're alone there.
yeah, so it's kind of like, there's certain things I can and cannot do. So instead of me taking my time and not wasted, but fumble, I'll give it to a professional, an expert who knows what they're doing, and
Yeah.
they can take care of that. And that also goes back to your office manager, your admin, all those steps that you can make. And I get it, not everybody can get to this right starting off, but you
Hmm.
need to recognize your strengths and weaknesses and find a way to take the weaknesses off your plate so you can focus more time on your strengths. And
Yeah.
that's what I was taught. So instead of sitting back doing the paperwork or trying to figure out Facebook, I can figure out how to do my job better and get more inspections. And that's the best piece of advice. And number one, the best advice to any inspector is always fall back on your training. If you ever get flushed or whatever, all you have to do is just do your job
Mhm.
and you will be fine. It's just like you said, when you get rushed and you get flustered or you're hot and you're busy or whatever the case
Yeah.
is, just do your job and stay with that and you should be
Great advice. I love it.
fine.
And then changing perspectives over to home buyers, is there a critical piece of advice that you would give every home buyer before they schedule an appointment? Let me say that again. If you could give a critical piece of advice for any home buyer before they schedule a home inspection, what would it be and why?
Do your research on the person that's inspecting your home and verify the person that you're hiring is the person that's going to be at the house.
Hmm.
Make sure the person that you're putting your $3-4 million invest $100,000 million investment into someone who is qualified and has the experience and knowledge to be able to do things correctly.
Hmm.
Find out what type of reporting system they're going to use. What type of report you're going to receive. That's why we have examples on our website so you can look at what you're going to get at the end result. So I'm not just going to give a piece of paper with a checklist, good, bad, down the list
Yeah.
of okay, need servicing that with nothing, and then you walk away with a confusion. And
Mhm.
if you evaluate and check your inspectors prior, you're going to know who you're going to get. You're going to know they're qualified, and you're going to understand, like we mentioned before, the tools that are going to be used. I have agents come up and say, "Hey, I always love you. You've got the new and the best equipment. I've got a guy that works down here by me, kind of out of range, and he does a good job. But man, when I see and my clients see you with your equipment, they love that.
Mhm.
So a lot of those things all come to play.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe not so much leaning on who's convenient, but doing your research and really knowing their reviews that they have online, their services that they offer, the tools that they invested in the education they've invested into being who they are in their home inspection company, or maybe if they work for someone else, just seeing that dedication to your craft of being a home inspector. Absolutely. I think that that would make me feel more reassured just doing my research before and not going through, even word of mouth. It's like someone maybe worked great with somebody that but they're not really so much what you're looking for. So taking that action to check out reviews, and just seeing what multiple people are saying and what multiple offerings you have in your service belt is super helpful for any home buyer. So thanks for sharing that feedback.
You're
And
welcome.
one other thing to add,
Yeah.
certifications too. So James is
Yeah.
certified through Internachi, which we
Mhm.
mentioned. So here in Michigan, that's not a requirement for home inspectors. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So it's nice to see like on our home website, you can see his certification number, and you can actually go to those organizations because there's a couple different ones in the
Mhm.
US and look up and see if they're current with that certification and go from there.
Yeah. How long have you been with Internachi? Was that something you started right away when you first started your business?
It was. That was part of the requirement of doing the apprenticeship. It
Mhm.
was, you know, doing the apprenticeship, you kind of first had to get your feet wet, figure out what you were doing. But as becoming an inspector, I just started off with Internachi and took my test and got going and got the basic certification for an inspector. And then I did that through, and then throughout the years, I've been taking on all the additional tests, being certified for air quality, termite, radon, sewer scopes, and Internachi has a great program where you can
Yeah.
go through all your continuing education, all the
Mhm.
testing you want to do. And I've just added to the list of things I'm certified in. And not
Mhm.
only by doing that, by getting certified in all those extra and services that I offer, well, now my insurance that I have through Internachi also recognizes that and won't insure me unless I'm certified on
Oh,
that.
wow.
So, it's something there that they won't give me that certification, or they won't give me the insurance until they can prove that I'm certified to do it. So those are things that really push me to grow. But I've been involved with Internachi since I started,
Very
and
cool.
HomeGauge, and
Yeah.
HomeGauge. Since this was the first program I ever worked on, and it's the last program I'll ever use.
Oh, awesome. We love that rooting
Yeah.
for us. It's so great.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen the competitors.
yeah. I've done a little exploring, and Internachi does offer a lot of great resources. Even if you're not a member, they offer a whole bunch of great resources. So I feel like having them as a support as you're getting certified and getting educated is just a fantastic resource for any home inspector out there that's looking to grow their services or their knowledge in the field. So that's cool that you brought that up for other inspectors to maybe check out.
Well,
Um,
they've got training courses. Matter of fact, we'll be down there in October for one of their training courses, just to expand knowledge and keep on growing. So yeah, it's a great program. Internachi, HomeGauge to me, interconnected, and it's going to be the way to go.
awesome. Well, I just have one more question for you guys. What's your favorite part about being a home inspector and being in the industry? Either of you, whoever wants to answer.
You want to go first? You want me to
There
go?
you go.
My favorite part of being in a home inspection is the people and being out on the road and something new every day.
Mhm.
I have a thirst for knowledge, only certain kinds of knowledge, where when I talk about home inspection, that is me. I am a home inspector. My license on my truck says inspector. I live it, I breathe it. My
Mhm.
friends understand it when I go to their homes. So being able to see something new uh, daily really keeps me going. And then, unfortunately, sometimes during the inspection period, we find things that could be very harmful or safety items that can affect the buyer.
Mhm.
And I feel good, not that they have to deal with it, but I feel good because I found something that could potentially harm, them or their family. And that
Mhm.
makes me feel good because we can always fix a roof, we can fix a foundation, but someone getting sick from carbon monoxide or radon or
Mhm.
mold or electrical, those are things that that's a little more severe. And when I find that, it gives me a little bit of sense of purpose, knowing that I just help these people out and potentially save somebody.
I always say with home inspectors, not all heroes wear capes. And it's so true when it comes to your guys' line of work because, there's so many things that I, as someone who even works for a home inspection company, is unaware of. And you can save somebody's life just being educated and certified and thorough with how you communicate your findings. It really is a huge role in the home buying process. So,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
I think my favorite part is what I've learned through James, being a homeowner and seeing things, and also being able to educate friends and family and those that were other people were communicating with for business sake. The not only the importance of a home inspection, but really the value of one. So you walk away with not just a report about the current condition of your home that you're buying, but also things to maybe maintain and take care of in the next year to 5 years, which is super helpful for folks when they are a first time home buyer and it seems so overwhelming. James does a great, thorough report that will break it down in a great summary for those clients. And of course, the funny stories or pictures he comes home with because he's ran into some all different kinds of situations out there. So,
What is this?
yeah, sometimes I'll get a phone call during the day and he'll say, "You can't believe what just happened." So that's kind of the fun piece of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree.
It's funny
Yep.
because I am not a home inspector, but just doing social media for HomeGauge and working with home inspectors. I'm sure that you can probably relate to this, both of you, but I will be out in public with my friends or something, and I will see, like just the other day, I was at dinner and there was this tree that was literally stretched out over across a garage, the roof of the garage. It was leaning on the garage. Like it definitely needed to be cut. It was contact with the garage roof, and I'm like recording it, zooming in, and my friend was sitting next to me and she's like, "What are you taking a picture of?" And I'm like, "I can't believe that this branch is just laying on the roof. Like that's a hazard." And it was just like your mind when you're on vacation and you're like, "Look at this, look at this." It's
That's so
everywhere.
true.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll be traveling and I'll be like, "Okay, what do you see?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, well, list 5 things real quick
Mm,
that
Yeah.
I wouldn't see with my eye." But it's always sometimes fun to tease friends like he is looking at your house, whether
Yeah.
he's commenting on it.
It's like, just so you know, I'm married to a home inspector, so he will be looking at your house when we come over for dinner.
yeah,
You
or
can't help it.
restaurants, wherever.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. It's like a free little service you get being friends with a home
Yeah.
inspector.
You can't turn it off.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I feel like that's a great thing to not be able to turn it off. But well, James and Stephanie are located in West Michigan. So if you're in West Michigan and you need a home inspection, you can check out their website at www.overandunderwood.com. I appreciate you guys being on the Gauge so much. It was so fun.
Well,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
And we'll
absolutely.
get
And
together soon.
yes, I'm
Do
still
another
down.
one.
If you find a really old house that you need to inspect, give me a call because I would love to tag along and just find some fun things in the house. It would be
I
awesome to
definitely
do that.
will. I will.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and we'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Becca.
Wonderful.
Thank you.